Session, please stand for a moment of silence and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That may be. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Clanton?
Present.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Present.
Mr. Page?
Here.
Mr. Smeagol?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Dr. Alexander?
Here, the motion is to dispense with the reading of the minutes of our previous meeting.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smeagol?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution certifying the closed meeting.
A resolution certifying a closed meeting of the Council of the City of Norfolk in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Adopt the resolution. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. Good evening and welcome to the Norfolk City Council meeting. Tonight, we will begin with public comments on the consent and regular agenda items, followed by public hearings. Then the consent agenda, which will be voted on in a block. Following the consent agenda, we will take up regular agenda items to address the council. You should register to speak with the clerk prior to 3 p.m. When your name is called, please come to the podium, state your name, your home address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Mr. Clerk, before we begin, can you please read the rules governing tonight's meeting?
Certainly. City Council rules permit each speaker 3 minutes in total to speak on any and or all consent and agenda docket items at each monthly meeting. In advance of tonight's meeting, if you've registered with the clerk in advance to speak on a public hearing matter, you'll be granted an additional 3 minutes as well. As you approach the council, you'll notice a timer on the lectern. At the beginning of your 3 minutes, the green light will activate. 2.5 minutes into your remarks, you'll notice a yellow light indicating that you have 30 seconds to finish your comments. At the end of 3 minutes, you will see a red light and hear a beep. We ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have the opportunity to address council on docket matters, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a profane, disruptive, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the City Council as a body, rather than to any particular member of City Council, staff, or the audience. Comments on an agenda item should be germane to that item. A speaker who fails to comply with the basic rules of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments. And as a reminder, no sign, placard, poster, or like material, which may be carried by hand, shall be permitted in the City Council chamber or adjoining areas.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Speaking on R1, we have Kyler Walters, Liz Albert on R5. Yes. Followed by Kathy O'Hara.
Mayor Alexander, City Council members, and City Manager Roberts. My name is Liz Albert, and I live at 5905 Appleton Drive in Norfolk. R5 is an ordinance designed to allocate operating funds to maintain the long vacant and neglected Military Circle Mall. But what about the funds for redevelopment? By now, we hope the Equity for the Eastside Coalition has made one point unmistakably clear. It is unacceptable that the proposed capital improvement plan includes $72 million for MacArthur Center redevelopment and not $1 for Military Circle or the promised East Side Recreation Center. This is revealing that downtown investment moves forward while the East Side waits and waits and waits. Our analysis of the current CIP budget, which is going to be handed to you, illustrates the inequality in capital spending between different areas of the city. Of named projects found in the CIP, 209 million, or 62% of the entire CIP budget, will be spent on named projects located in the downtown or west side. The entire rest of the city, which includes Ocean View, the central part of the city, the south side, and the east side, is allocated just $11 million for named projects, or just 3% of the total CIP budget. So based on these numbers, downtown and the west side projects will receive 19 times the amount that will be spent in all other areas combined for named projects. This is not equitable treatment, especially if you consider Ward 4, in which Military Circle resides, produces an estimated 32% of the revenue for the City of Norfolk. We demand the east side of the city be treated with the same consideration given to the downtown and west side in all matters, capital projects and services. Words and pictures are nice, but reality is that nothing is guaranteed until it is in the budget and approved by City Council. As a show of good faith, just as you did with the downtown developers, we request that at least $72 million be added and approved in the FY 2027 budget for Military Circle Mall redevelopment. You say you plan to continue redevelopment at Military Circle, so make it a reality and put it in the budget. We ask you to show us the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy O'Hara is followed by Nick Musella.
Mayor Alexander, City Council members, and Mr. Roberts. My name is Kathy O'Hara. I live at 5915 Ocean Boulevard. I'm here tonight to address Agenda Item R5 and what it represents. Approving the ordinance would authorize spending up to $600,000 to maintain the dead Military Circle Mall, a property which has been shuttered for more than 3 years, a property with no active redevelopment funding in your proposed capital improvement budget. Let me repeat that. We are funding maintenance, but not progress. Eastside Norfolk residents see this clearly. Members of the Equity for the Eastside Coalition are here tonight, and I ask them to stand. We are wearing black because we are asking that Military Circle redevelopment be put in black and white in the CIP where it belongs. Instead, what we see is drift, delay, excuses. It has been reported publicly that the Ross lease is the problem because it would require a $16 million buyout. And yes, that is a high number. But what is the cost of doing nothing? It has been 3 years ago, a team led by Pharrell Williams brought forward a $1.1 billion vision for this site. Housing, jobs, a hotel, an arena, a future. Today, that same vision would cost hundreds of millions of dollars more. Construction costs have risen dramatically by 4 to 7% annually at a minimum. Another 3-year delay will not be neutral. It will not be harmless. It will add $120 million to $300 million to the cost of redevelopment if a large mixed-use project remains the vision. So let's be honest, refusing to act on a $16 million obstacle while allowing $300 million in additional costs to accumulate is not fiscal discipline. It is not prudence. It is failure to lead. Council members, this is not an unsolvable problem. It is an unresolved problem. And there is a difference. While there is urgency, there are solutions, negotiation, legal strategies, redevelopment alternatives. What has been missing is not options. What has been missing is a decisive action. Every year of delay sends a message to residents, to developers, to investors that Norfolk is not serious about this project. And if that message continues, the opportunity will not just become more expensive, it will disappear. The time for patience has passed. As my grandmother often said, where there is a will, there is a way. Direct staff to act, put this project in the CIP, remove the obstacles one way or another, because another 3 years like the last 3 is not just costly, it is unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Musella? followed by Marcia Mock.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and Mr. Roberts. My name is Nick Masella, and I live at 5918 Appleton Drive in Norfolk. I'm an East Side resident, a husband, and a father of 2 beautiful young children. I'm here tonight to speak in support of meaningful family-centered development in the Military Circle Mall area. In the last few years, my wife and I have desired to get more involved in our community. We joined our River Forest Shore Civic League and became NFK 2050 champions. Throughout the last few years, we have seen and heard firsthand that residents care deeply about the future of the city. People want Norfolk to grow, but they want it to grow in a way that is thoughtful, connected, and livable. That is why this moment matters. As a young family, we want to believe that Norfolk is a city where families can stay, grow, and thrive. But if the city continues to walk away from the promise of a recreation center and library in this area, it sends the opposite message. These amenities are core pieces of a healthy neighborhood. They are places where children learn, teenagers have somewhere constructive to go, parents find community, and residents from different backgrounds actually interact with one another. At the same time, I'm not here to say that Military Circle area should only become public facilities. I understand the need for housing. I understand the value of density when it is done well. But I do not want to see the area become only high-density development without the civic, cultural, and recreational infrastructure to support it. Density without community assets, it's not vision. It's just building. This area is also uniquely positioned. It is close to the airport, close to major roads, and it's already been identified by the city as a future regional activity center. With Norfolk International Airport expanding its role as a broader regional and international hub, the Military Circle corridor should not be treated like an afterthought. It should be treated like one of the city's best opportunities for return on investment. If we are serious about economic development, this is where investment makes sense. If we are serious about regional connectivity, this is where investment makes sense. If we are serious about giving families a reason to stay in Norfolk, this is where investment makes sense. The city can keep spending money in ways that maintain the status quo, or it can invest in an area that has the potential to generate long-term public value. Housing, jobs, recreation, education, transportation, commerce, and civic life all working together. So my ask is simple. Please do not reduce the vision for Military Circle. Do not remove the family-centered public amenities that made many residents hopeful in the first place. Keep the recreation center and the library as part of the plan and pursue development that is balanced, mixed-use, connected, and worthy of this opportunity the site represents. As a young family, we want to stay here. We want to raise our children here. We want to believe Norfolk is building a future for families like ours. Please make Military Circle a place that proves that.
Thank you. Marcia Mock. Marcia Mock. Terry White. Terry White. Terry White.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Terry White. I'm a resident of Norfolk. I'm also a member of the Virginia Organizing. I'm here on R7, which basically is on. I'm also disabled. I rely on safe, accessible transportation just to live and get around. So when I walk around this ordinance, this is 1.3 million for Bramerton and Park Avenue intersection. Please understand, this is just not a budget line. This is about whether people like me can move through or on our own streets safely or not at all. There's been times I have stood at the intersection watching the lights change and knowing that do I have enough time, to make it through. Because if I don't, I'm going to get hurt. And I'm afraid. Right now, too many intersections in Norfolk are dangerous for people with disability, crosswalks, are too short, sidewalks are uneven, signals don't give us enough time, and have to cross the street like that. I have to ask myself, is this where I get hurt? You know? And also, we should not have to risk our safety just to get to a doctor's appointment, grocery stores, or bus stops. That's not safe, accessible to survive. So yes, I support this funding, but I need more than a yes vote. I need accountability. I need you to make sure these improvements actually center accessible, not as an afterthought, not as a checkbox, but as a priority. Because disability residents in Norfolk deserve more than being overlooked. We deserve to be protected. Pass this ordinance and do it in a way that shows actual value of our lives. Thank y'all. Y'all
Thank
have a
you.
blessed day.
Dale White. Dale White.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dale White, 4700 Colley Avenue, and thank you, council members, for having this time to hear my voice and other voices on those that want the best for Norfolk. I'm speaking on the matter of Newport Gardens, and this is the time I'm supposed to speak. Okay. It's more than a development. It's a place where people are building their lives. Today, it's 100% occupied, filled with individuals who serve this city every day, teachers, military families, young professionals just starting out, and retirees choosing to remain rooted there. For many of them, it's not just housing, it's stability, dignity, and opportunity. This project was built with a shared vision, with a commitment from the city to support it once it was complete. Today, that promise stands at the finish line, with the residents already living there. We are here in hope that we can finish what was started together. I hope that we can continue creating places like this for the people who need and depend on them. So in closing, when we follow through, we don't just fund a project, we strengthen trust, community, and the future of workplace housing here in Norfolk. We respectfully ask for your support in fulfilling that commitment and continuing this momentum together. Thank you.
Thank you. Ishmael Shalim. Thank you. Did Marsha Mock? Did show up? Kyler Waters. Okay. Mr. Bull? PH1.
Public hearing one scheduled this day pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance approving a Fifth Amendment to lease between the City of Norfolk as lessor and the National Railroad Passenger Corporation as lessee for a portion of the property located at 280 Park Avenue in the City of Norfolk, Virginia, and authorizing the city manager to execute the Fifth Amendment to lease. Have an ordinance approving a Fifth Amendment to lease between the City of Norfolk as lessor and the National Railroad Passenger Corporation as lessee for a portion of the property located at 280 Park Avenue. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
All right, PH2.
Public hearing two scheduled to stay pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance authorizing TWP, the youth movement, to use city property known as 801 and 901 Church Street on June 6, 2026 for the 2026 Fuse Fest. Of an ordinance authorizing TWP, the youth movement, to use city property known as 801 and 901 Church Street on June 6, 2026 for the 2026 Fuse Festival. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk? The consent agenda will be considered in a block.
Yes, sir. Approve the consent agenda and dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinances twice and adopt with the effective dates. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. R1,
R1 is a resolution approving and authorizing the city manager to enter into a design-build contract for the Norfolk Coastal Storm Risk Management Non-Structural Flood Mitigation Program. Adopt the resolution. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
aye. Mr. Clerk? R2,
R2, I have a motion to continue this item generally, sir. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
aye. R3,
R3 is an ordinance amending the City of Norfolk Stormwater Design and Construction Manual codified in the City Code Section 41.2-1. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
aye. R4,
R4 is an ordinance to amend and reordain Section 41.1 through 25 of the Norfolk City Code 1979 so as to amend subsections A through C to increase the construction general permit fee, modification of transfer fees, and maintenance fees, and to amend the fee types to conform with the Virginia Erosion and Stormwater Management Regulation statewide permit fee schedule effective July 1, 2026 to correct grammatical errors and to clarify the permit types. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
aye. R5,
R5 is an ordinance amending the FY 2026 annual appropriations ordinance number 49966 to appropriate funds up to the sum of $600,000 from the Economic Development Authority of the City of Norfolk for Military Circle Mall and amending the annual budget to add this appropriation. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a brief comment on this particular item here. I know that we're amending the current operations to support what we need to do at military. But I also just want to say to those who've come and spoke to us that you've been heard loud and clear. And I know that many of us, including my colleague here, are very much working towards to ensure that those things which have been brought forth will continue. I would also like to say that I will continue to work to ensure that whatever decision we make is fiscally prudent, and that whatever numbers are there, but we'll continue to work to hear the voice of the community as we move forward. But in that respect, I will say I vote aye to continue this and to make sure that we do what we need to do.
Thank you. Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Thank you, Super Ward 7. I'm with you. I appreciate the knowledge and information that you have brought forward, not just for the east side of Ward 4, but for our entire east side of our city, more specifically, all of Ward 4. Thank you for your hard work. This is just a little step there. We still have some work to do over the next few weeks before this hearing, but your representative is with you. I vote aye.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
aye. Mr. Clerk, R6,
R6 is an ordinance amending and reordaining the FY 2026 annual appropriations ordinance number 49966 so as to accept a gift of $25,000 from the Chesapeake Bay ENT Holdings LLC if and when received towards the cost of the design and fabrication of a city-owned work of public art to be installed at real property located at 130 York Street in Norfolk to amend the FY 2026 budget to add the same and to appropriate said funds for said purpose. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
aye. R7,
R7 is an ordinance approving a First Amendment to services agreement by and between the City of Norfolk and the Curtis Group Consultants, Inc., and authorizing the city manager to execute the amendment. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
aye. R8,
R8 is an ordinance amending Section 16 of the FY 2026 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 49966 so as to appropriate additional grant funds for a total sum of $1,339,077 from the Virginia Department of Transportation for the Brambleton Avenue and Park Avenue intersection improvements UPC 111019 and amending the FY 2026 budget to amend this grant information. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R9.
R9 is an ordinance amending Section 19 of the FY 2026 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 49966 so as to reappropriate $53,153 of direct distribution settlement funds for the purpose of Norfolk paying its matching share for fiscal year 2026 project meeting of the gold standard for the use of such funds for the purpose of a shared regional mobile van for primary care and substance use disorder services and the provision of related services pursuant to a cooperative partnership grant from the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority on which the Norfolk is a partner, and a contract with the City of Virginia Beach, the fiscal agent for the grant, and other partner localities, and amending the FY 2026 budget to relate these changes. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R10.
R10 is an ordinance approving a second amendment to the operating agreement between the City of Norfolk and Virginia Zoological Society and authorizing the city manager to execute the second amendment of the operating agreement. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R11.
R11 is an ordinance authorizing a grant agreement between the City of Norfolk as grantor and Newport Manor LLC as grantee, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say I appreciate all of those who've advocated hard for this and to bring additional affordable housing, workforce housing to our community. So I vote aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Mr. Mayor, this was the first development of its type that I had the opportunity to work with since I've been on this council. It took a lot of work, and still at the end a lot of work for a developer who's still not equal to what other developers have at the end of it. I still don't know if there's enough room for profit, but I'm grateful that we had someone that was willing to work and keep in mind those that are less fortunate or in a moderate income space that still want to live somewhere nice. So I applaud the Hanson Group for this work, and my vote is aye.
Thank you. Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, you have another?
I have one additional item, sir. It's from our city attorney, wishes to have a confirmation of Hannah Wilk as an Assistant City Attorney 1 LD, effective May 4, 2026, in the Law Department pay plan, grade L14 of the city's compensation plan to serve at the pleasure of the city attorney. And confirm the appointment, Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye.
That's all I have, sir.